Hello and welcome to the broadcast, our daily recap of all that was on the election campaign for this Tuesday, May the 9th, 2023. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bruce McAllister. Well, coming up tonight, we will hear from the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis, on today's huge announcement from the UCP. We'll delve into that momentarily. We will hear from Campaign Manager Steve Outhouse. UCP leader Danielle Smith sits down with a Calgary mom to talk about affordability and how to make it and how to make ends meet in today's world. We'll also take you to a press conference, an NDP press conference, where a candidate sheepishly walked away from the podium today after a tweet that he released that was very inappropriate was discussed. We will take you there and show you the reaction. All that coming up in the next few minutes here on the broadcast tonight. But first, enough is enough. That is the message from UCP leader Danielle Smith and her top cop Calgary West UCP candidate Mike Ellis, as they announce bold new plans today to crack down on crime and social disorder in our province and make our streets and our communities safer for your families. Several initiatives announced that put Albertans first and let criminals know that Albertans will no longer tolerate social disorder. Here now, UCP leader Danielle Smith and Mike Ellis.
Almost every day, Albertans wake up to news that someone in their city or community has been attacked, or even worse. Just yesterday, Edmonton Police Chief Dale McPhee spoke about the horrific murder of a mother and her 11-year-old child in broad daylight. Chief McPhee expressed great frustration that the accused was well known to police, having a history dating back to 2009 that included multiple charges. Victims of crime are people's daughters, sons, parents, friends, and loved ones. And most often, the perpetrators of these crimes have been released on bail, some multiple times. In Edmonton in the last 2 years, 26 homicides were committed by criminals out on bail. And in Calgary, 23 of the 45 people charged with homicide in 2021, 2022, and 2023 so far were out on bail. 7 of those were bound by firearms prohibitions. The Liberal NDP soft on crime approach is costing lives, and Albertans and all Canadians deserve better. The United Conservative Party stands with our provincial partners, demanding the federal government end the system of catch and release, plaguing our communities, and reform our bail system. Voices in Alberta and Canada are growing stronger. Momentum for change is building, and I'm here to tell you, enough is enough. We will not wait on the federal government. We will take action to ensure Albertans feel safe again, and we will do whatever it takes to ensure they do. So today, I'm announcing the United Conservative Party's Safe Streets Action Plan, a comprehensive set of measures to restore safety to Alberta's cities, communities, and public transit.
United Conservatives will do whatever it takes for Albertans to feel safe in their homes, in their streets, and their communities. And what we're promising today will build off those earlier steps. It is no secret that fentanyl has devastated the lives of thousands of Albertans. Those on the left would look to completely decriminalize the incredibly dangerous drugs such as fentanyl. And let me be clear, this would only empower organized crime. It would empower the criminals, and it would hamper the efforts of our law enforcement community. Criminals are profiting off the addiction and, of course, the death that is caused by this drug. And it's time that we say, as a community, no more. A new anti-fentanyl team led by the Alberta Sheriffs will take the fight right to our U.S. border to stop these drugs from crossing into our province. And they'll be joined by an anti-gun trafficking team that will work to stop illegal guns from making their way into the hands of the criminals and the gang members. Because while the federal government targets legal gun owners, we know that the gun violence being perpetrated on Alberta streets come from illegal sales and trades of guns and people whose first thought, unfortunately, is violence.
Well, you heard the Premier say it. The UCP will do whatever it takes to keep our communities and our streets safe. Today, criminals were put on notice. And the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services is also the UCP candidate in Calgary West, and he is a 10-year veteran of the Calgary Police Service, and he joins us tonight. He is Mike Ellis, of course, to talk more about today's announcement. Mike, great to see you. The message was really clear today. Enough is enough.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Bruce. You're right. Enough is enough. All too often, doesn't matter where we are in Alberta, rural Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton. We are seeing violent repeat offenders who are continuously not only committing crime, but they're preying on the citizens within Alberta. We are disproportionately seeing higher indications of stranger on stranger crime, and I can tell you, as a former law enforcement officer, that is deeply concerning. It's really to a point where people are feeling unsafe to walk down the streets of Edmonton or Calgary, certainly ride transit. As I said many times before, we have rights as citizens as well in this city. We have a right to walk down the street. We have a right not to be assaulted. We certainly have a right not to be stabbed, and we have a right not to inhale secondhand crystal meth smoke or any type of other illicit narcotic.
Mike, listen, the NDP has been very soft on crime and frankly, pretty quiet about it. Some of the candidates, and this is quite disturbing, have even been linked to the defund the police movement, the support of that. That's atrocious in my opinion, and probably that of most Albertans. Talk more about that, I guess, in the differing viewpoints of these two parties.
Yeah, I mean, look, the defund the police movement, and especially that is, seems to be deeply held within the NDP, especially within the cities and municipalities of Edmonton and Calgary. That is deeply concerning. I can tell you, as a law enforcement officer, the dangerous situations that we go to on a regular basis, especially when we're dealing with people who have severe mental health issues, or people that are, having a bad reaction to crystal meth. There's no negotiating with somebody. There's no reasoning with that particular person. And we have to make the scene safe. And we have to make the scene safe for the people that need the resources that are available. So as much as the NDP would like to dismiss and cast away the law enforcement community and think that the only way to solve this problem is through social workers, I can tell you that they are deeply mistaken. And I can tell you that they endanger each and every social worker that they think can attend these calls in a way that the law enforcement community, that they believe the law enforcement community can't.
Look, we've all seen crime escalate over the last few years. You spent 10 years as a cop in the city of Calgary, and so we know these issues are near and dear to your heart. You're a family man. Mike, talk more, I guess, about the UCP strategy, some of the things that you announced today and what you hope to accomplish by putting them in place.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bruce. Yeah, I did 12 years in the Calgary Police Service, 10 years absolutely in uniform on the streets, dealing with people with severe mental health and addictions issues. And, let me just talk a little bit about the NDP. So the NDP believe that there needs to be a choice. That we only have resources to help vulnerable people, unfortunately, to keep people in perpetual states of pain and suffering, essentially giving them drugs in order to survive, and then give them this cycle, basically keeping them all into a cycle of abuse. I can tell you that you don't have to choose, and that's basically the UCP policy on this. We can help people who are vulnerable. Recovery is possible, and we've demonstrated that. I can tell you, when I was the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, we were able to reduce opioid fatalities in this province by 50%. When the policies in British Columbia, who we are directly compared to on a regular basis, I can tell you that their overdose fatalities increased by 30% during that particular time period. But we can also keep the public safe. And that's what we've demonstrated, certainly over the last 6 to 8 months. This is why we deployed the sheriffs in downtown Calgary. This is why we made the commitment, in Calgary and Edmonton. And then we made the commitment today under Premier Smith to continue with that program and certainly assess that if it's deemed necessary. I can tell you right now, having spoken to Edmontonians, spoken to Calgarians, the desire is to have more sheriffs patrolling the streets of Calgary and Edmonton. And we are going to listen, this party for sure is going to listen to the needs of Calgarians and of Edmontonians to make sure that our communities are safe.
Mike, we're going to leave it there for tonight. I know from your passion, we could talk about this on and on and on. Listen, we may have you back on before the election campaign wraps up. Keep up the good work. And behalf of all Albertans, thank you for your leadership on this file.
Thanks, Bruce.
All right, there is Calgary West UCP candidate Mike Ellis joining us tonight. Again, a huge announcement from Mr. Ellis and UCP leader Danielle Smith today. Criminals have been put on notice in Alberta. Social disorder and criminal unrest will no longer be tolerated, and it's a big gap in between what the UCP is proposing and obviously the NDP philosophy on dealing with crime. Well, a quick update for you on the wildfire situation in Alberta. There are still more than 80 wildfires burning. More than 20 of those are out of control. Crews obviously are doing all that they can to get them under control. The weather has helped some. What is really needed at this point is more rain. There are still 12 evacuation orders in place with more than 24,000 people still out of their homes. So, of course, we're all hoping for better weather. And again, a thank you tonight to all the first responders doing all they can on the front lines and behind the scenes to try and get these fires under control and support those that are working. Well, a disappointing tweet from an NDP candidate is making headlines tonight. Lethbridge East candidate, NDP candidate Rob Miyashiro, had the audacity to compare the fires that are currently burning in Alberta to the UCP's governing over the last 4 years. That's right, the fires that are scorching this province, burning buildings and homes and displacing people, threatening our entire communities. These fires have Albertans coming together as we stand united to try and fight them, to get them out, but still a very partisan reference from an NDP candidate in Lethbridge East. And he was asked about that today at a news conference. He didn't retract. He didn't apologize. Here's what happened today.
Thank you. This is for Rob. Rob, did you want to provide any comment on the tweet you shared that compared the fires to the UCP's handling of the province?
There's no really any comment to make. If you look at the tweet, I mean, just look at the tweet.
Again, that story certainly making headlines tonight in Lethbridge. Disappointing to say the least, that Lethbridge East NDP candidate Rob Miyashiro would make something so political and so partisan at a time when Albertans are trying to pull together. Well, in other news on the campaign trail, the talk of taxes and affordability is common on the doorsteps. We hear that from our candidates out there, and you're no doubt having those conversations as they approach your doors. UCP leader Danielle Smith sat down with one mom to discuss how difficult it is, as there is often a lot of month left at the end of the money. But this lady is stressing the importance of voting UCP to make sure that we move Alberta forward. Here's UCP leader Danielle Smith.
Pretty good right now, so they're doing what they can to help us out.
Good, I'm glad to get that
You're
feedback.
doing what you can to help us out.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm sitting here with Alex, who is a mother of two who are at the playground and may come back at any moment. But Alex does shift work while her husband is going to university getting his master's degree, right?
Yes,
What is
he
her
works
name?
full time and he's getting his master's
busy.
degree, so very busy.
Oh my goodness, you've got a busy household.
Yes.
And I can imagine as you're doing your grocery shopping, you're sort of looking at the price of the grocery bill every week. Tell us what the inflation crisis has done for your family. You would notice that since you're
I
a
was
home
going to
baker.
say, yes, I do a lot of baking. We try to cook as much from home as we can. And yeah, it feels like it's like every time you go in, I know it's not doubling every single time you go in, but it feels like every single time I go in, I'm like, oh, it's higher this month and this month and this much, making it kind of harder to create those budgets and to stick to them just because you never know what's kind of going to happen every time you go to the grocery store.
We know every family has different pressures. So you've got two young ones.
Yep.
That would allow you to get $200 a month. Have you signed up for that plan?
Oh yes, my husband was on top of that. He is constantly checking for all of those things. You know, we try to keep our food as healthy as we can, but that's kind of hard with when you go in there and you're like, oh, I can get all this really like processed stuff for cheap, having that little bit of extra money that we can put towards that or put towards things like soccer for our daughter. It's been really helpful just giving us a little bit more breathing room in those areas so that we're not going into debt every single month.
So tell me a bit about when we were going into winter, one of the things I was worried about was the impact of power and heating bills.
Seeing those prices on our utilities go up was a little bit of shell shock. We bought all the extra socks and all the extra sweatpants and tried to keep the house at like, usually was set to like 18 or 19 for as long as possible, but there's always those days where you're like, it's just so cold and you've got to turn the furnace up. And so I don't control the weather. I don't control a lot of the aspects that are going on. And it's like, yes, would I like to be able to do things that are more environmentally conscious when I can? Absolutely. We try to utilize those as best as we can. We bought like blackout blinds so that it kind of controls the heat in here a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's hard for us to be paying for something that is just not resolvable quickly right now. So
that's such a great perspective. Let me ask you another big cost as well is cost of gasoline or diesel. Not sure what kind of vehicle you drive, but
yes.
you've got young kids, so I imagine there's lots of activities as well. So one of the things that we saw is that the federal government was bringing through another increase in the carbon tax on gasoline and diesel, 14 cents a liter. So we gave a rebate. So we've suspended our carbon tax of 13 cents a liter just to make sure that families have a bit of a break. So tell me what kind of impact that has.
That's been fantastic. Living in Alberta, sometimes you don't realize how big of an impact those things are because we're just looking at the gas prices. Our gas prices, we're not always comparing them against other provinces. And I was recently, just in April, in Saskatchewan. It's like the second you cross the border, you're like, oh, this is like 30 cents more expensive. And then you're like, on the way back, if I can just make it to Medicine Hat and gas up when I get to Medicine Hat, then it will be fine because I'm not paying crazy amounts. We got it pretty good right now. So they're doing what they can to help us out.
Good, I'm glad to get that
You're
feedback.
doing what you can to help us out.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
One more thing, because you talk about your husband going to school and working.
Yep.
You are also got 2 young ones as well as working.
Yep.
We're working towards a $10 a day daycare.
Yeah.
We've started that off already, and by 2026, that's where we hope to get. I don't know if you're using that now because it just started getting implemented in the new year, and just wanted to get an idea of how that might impact you.
With my job kind of shifting, that is something that we've looked more into. Most childcare facilities, you're still paying a ton of money for that, but it allows that flexibility to go to work, make a little bit of extra money, still have that time with your kids and your family without having to absolutely break the bank.
So we don't want to go backwards. We want to move forward. And
Yes.
so tell me how things look for you when you look forward.
One of the reasons we are conservative, one of the reasons we vote UCP is it's way more big picture thinking. It sets you up better down the road. We always say like money that comes in quickly also goes out quickly, and the difference between just like throwing money at a problem doesn't really help in the long run. And so we are hopeful for the future that as long as, UCP government gets voted back in, somebody that understands the fiscal responsibilities of running a house and running a family and trying to plan for the future and not just living in that day-to-day moments. I wanted to read both sides. I like to read both sides of the political spectrum so that I know it's like, you guys actually had like numbers and facts and things that I was like, okay, this is much easier to pull on, whereas the other one was just like, this is what we're planning on doing. And it's like, there's like no concrete anything here for me to pull from. So yeah.
Thanks so much for the feedback.
No worries.
Do you think I can take one of your delicious muffins?
Yes.
UCP leader Danielle Smith doing a great job interviewing and sitting down with Albertans to chat about life and a path forward filled with hope. We will have more segments just like that one throughout the days ahead here on the broadcast. All right, we've come to that point in the program where we check in with our campaign manager, Steve Outhouse, to get a bit of an update on the door knocking tallies and some of the boards to see how we're doing. Let's check in with Steve now from UCP Headquarters. That is the office of the campaign manager. Steve on the go again today. It's been another busy day here, day 9.
Absolutely, Bruce. The teams continue to be out there and hitting the doors. We're super thankful for all the work that they're doing. And it's really busy out there, and we're grateful for all the volunteers that are getting out there and helping us win this election.
I got a call today from somebody on one of the campaigns thanking us for the shout out for them being number 1. I said, no. I said, Steve would want to thank you for being number 1 on the list. So To those just joining us, what we do is review the top door knocking campaigns in the province. Steve runs us through some of the boards, and then we give a shout out to those doing the great work. So why don't you do that for us tonight?
Yeah. And just one other kind of, so yes, I definitely would want to thank those who earned the number one slot. What they're doing is just critical out there. And it's so great to see teams working together to get out there and hit those doors. And just a reminder is, Bruce, is kind of everything that you've been sharing tonight. I mean, everything from the wildfires to, the cost of living and so on, who governs really matters. And I just want to say that to all of our door knockers out there. You're doing important work, and really we need to continue to remind people this is a choice between two very different visions, between the UCP and the NDP. The UCP is going to lower the cost of living. The UCP is going to cut taxes. The NDP is not committing to cut taxes. They're saying they won't raise them, but they kind of will then also talk about maybe they're going to need to raise them, and that's not clear on what they're going to do. They talk a great game on healthcare, but have not produced those results as well. The best that they've got is they continue to try to say that the premier is going to charge people to see the doctor, which is just completely false and has been corrected a million times over. These lines are just these are things that we continue to push back on the doors. Stay strong in that, folks, and get out there and continue to answer people's questions. We have the better platform. We have the better team. We have the better leader, and we are going to win this together. So with that said, let's thank our top door knocking ridings. For Monday, May the 8th in Calgary, we have Calgary Bow, Calgary Klein, and Calgary Northwest. In Edmonton, we have Edmonton Manning, Edmonton Castle Downs, and Edmonton Decore. Once again, for the North, we're just we don't have stats for that. It's just things are a little too up in the air there with everything that's going on. So we're just going to hopefully we'll start to see some of the other campaigns that are still able to go out. I mean, we'll report as soon as we can, but we don't want to put any pressure there. In Central Region, we have Sherwood Park, Strathcona Sherwood Park, and Fort Saskatchewan Vegreville. In the South Region, we have Brooks Medicine Hat, Lethbridge East, and Cypress Medicine Hat. And our top riding for across the province for yesterday, Monday, May the 8th, is Sherwood Park. So congratulations to Jordan Walker and his team there. And let me tell you, I'd just like to say, Bruce, Jordan regularly updates me on their the work that they're doing to go door to door. He's a very enthusiastic door knocker, so exciting to have him at the top. Last week, we were able to kind of, it was fun just to see Sherwood Park and Calgary Acadia in a battle right to the end of the day. They were neck and neck and trading, and I was texting both candidates there, both Tyler and Jordan, say, hey, you guys are just, you passed each other by 8, and now it's going back and forth. It was a lot of fun just to see this friendly competition that's out there, and congratulations to Jordan and his team for how they're how they did at the doors yesterday.
Yeah, you bet. Steve, imagine opening your door and trying to get rid of Jordan without having a conversation. It would be a tough thing to do. He's going to hang around and have a great conversation with you. You're probably going to like him by the time.
It would be great. It would be great. To be clear, Jordan, I think the conversation would be great.
Yes, these are complimentary comments. Listen, Steve, thank you. We'll check in with you again tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Bruce.
All right, Steve Outhouse, campaign manager for the UCP, doing great work in UCP Headquarters and joining us tonight. Well, that about does it for our time on this Tuesday, May the 9th. But before we go, we want to let you know again that we live stream this broadcast for you every 9 o'clock. Every Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock on Daniel Smith's Facebook page. You can go ahead and share it, and we will leave it up, share it on other platforms, on other sites with your friends, your neighbors, and certainly your social media sites. You can view it at your convenience. It airs at 9, but again, we leave it up for you so you can watch it at your convenience. And if you have any comments, any questions, any feedback, you can send me an email directly to recap@unitedconservative.ca. Again, that's recap@unitedconservative.ca. We sure appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing with us tonight. And we will see you again tomorrow on Wednesday as we continue moving Alberta forward.